Samantha Jones is a self-assured and self-reliant icon who put the sex in Sex and the City.
Hello, my name is Fabulous.
Samantha has always been a fan favorite, but during the show's run, she was often framed as the most out there of the bunch. Someone you'd want to be friends with, but not necessarily be. But looking back, Samantha was right about so many things, even if she got flack for it at the time. And while she certainly wasn't perfect, she offers a number of important lessons about building the life you want and staying true to yourself no matter what.
I am harsh. I'm also demanding, stubborn, self-sufficient, and always right. In bed, at the office, and everywhere else.
So let's take a look back at Samantha's outlook on life and love, and how she was way ahead of the curve. Unlike her friends, Samantha doesn't see relationships as a goal or something she has to slog through just because. She has fun playing the field, and isn't afraid of being single.
You can bang your head against the wall and try and find a relationship, or you can say screw it and just go out and have sex like a man.
In our video on why Charlotte was wrong about love, but right to believe in it, we analyzed how attached she was to so many made-up rules about how a woman has to behave if she has any hope of winning the guy of her dreams.
I thought you were serious about this guy. You can't sleep with him on the first date.
Oh God, here she goes again with the rules.
She, at first, sees marriage to the perfect guy as the true end goal of her life. Her job and friends and life all just filler until she got the true happy ending, being a wife and mother. But over time, she comes to learn what Samantha already knew. There are no rules that you can follow to magically end up with the perfect relationship.
Surviving a night of food poisoning together wasn't the stuff of great romance, but it was the stuff of lasting love.
And men shouldn't be the sole focus of your life.
The right guy is an illusion. You understand that? You can start living your life.
In fact, for Samantha, a lot of the guys she dates are barely even a part of the periphery of her life.
Hello.
It's over. I told my wife.
Who is this?
I'm in love with you. Now we can be together.
Oh, no.
It's not that Samantha doesn't like dating and relationships, she just comes at them from a very different point of view. To her, they should enhance the life that you already love. You shouldn't have to change yourself to try to fit into the mold of what you think some guy is going to fall in love with. He should love you for who you are. And love doesn't even have to always be on the table. There's nothing wrong with just having a good time.
Sex is something special that's supposed to happen between two people who love each other.
Or two people who love sex.
Because she's confident in who she is and what she wants out of life, she doesn't feel like she's missing something and needs a man to complete her. At the time, due to her sexual freedom and desire to not be tied down, at least not matrimonially. For much of the audience, Samantha seemed to fall into more of a person I'd want to be friends with, but wouldn't necessarily want to be slut.
Most men are threatened by successful women.
If you want to get these guys, you have to keep your mouth shut and play by the rules.
But over time, it's become clear that really Samantha had the healthiest outlook of the four friends, and is often the one that modern audiences are most drawn to.
How many sexual partners have you had?
I'm counting. This year?
Not being desperate for a relationship didn't mean she was sad and alone. Just the opposite, in fact.
You know, marriage doesn't guarantee a happy ending, just an ending.
Samantha had several deep relationships over the course of the show, and importantly, unlike her friends, also knew when it was time to let things go and move on.
I love you too, Richard. But I love me more.
Relationships should complement your life, not drag it down. And Samantha was well aware of that. But that knowledge also led to some issues. As an outspoken, self-confident woman, Samantha was no stranger to pushback.
If I worried what every bitch in New York was saying about me, I'd never leave the house.
As a power player in New York City, owning her own PR firm, she has to deal with it in the business world.
A guy gets angry in a meeting, he's a pistol. A woman, she's emotional.
But her free and open sex life means she's also often judged by society. And worst of all, it often gets her criticized by even her closest friends.
You and I have very different ideas about what's sexy.
This is about the blowjob, isn't it?
But thankfully, Samantha won't be made to feel small by anyone. She's not afraid to take people down a peg when they treat her poorly. And she also has no problem letting her friends know when they've crossed the line. Carrie, Miranda, and Charlotte often remark on how they would never behave the way Samantha does.
You would never walk in on me because that is something I would never do.
They, on the surface, pretend to be accepting of modern women's liberation and sexual freedom, but they clearly judge Samantha for being quote-unquote easy.
Is your vagina in the New York City guidebooks? Because it should be. It's the hottest spot in town. It's always open.
They're often happy to hear about her escapades or run to her for advice, but deep down they clearly resent something about her freedom. Often they're just upset that they're too afraid to allow themselves that same level of freedom. And on occasion, it bubbles to the surface. With Charlotte, it's not so surprising, since the characters are deliberately set as foils to one another, the Madonna and the whore. But it is surprising how often sex columnist Carrie has a problem with the fact that Samantha has a lot of sex.
You know, for a sex columnist, you have a very limited view of sexuality.
But Samantha never let some snooty attitudes shake the core of her being. And her biggest blow-up to one of Carrie's rude comments led to one of the show's most iconic lines.
And I will not be judged by you or society. I will wear whatever and blow whomever I want as long as I can breathe and kneel.
Even though her friends weren't always so kind to her, Samantha herself was a good and loyal friend. While they might have been quick to judge her for her life choices, she was always able to look deeper and understand what was going on with her friends, and was there to help them instead of look down on them.
Don't you want to judge me just a little bit?
Not my style.
And a big part of being there for her friends was helping them to accept themselves in the way she did. She wouldn't let society walk all over her, and she certainly wasn't going to let it happen to any of her friends either.
So now you support women in the arts.
I support you, and honey, these bitches need to be put in their places.
And her willingness to tell the truth when others might feel the need to sugarcoat it often helped push her friends in the right direction, even if they didn't always want to hear it.
Nobody is listening to me. They just keep telling me I'm fabulous.
You are fabulous.
Go get Samantha and tell her to come back here. She'll tell me the truth.
She's able to inspire confidence in her friends and help them to unlock new parts of themselves that they didn't even know that they had. And she always has their backs no matter what.
What's going on?
She stole my baby name.
You bitch. Let's go.
One delightful moment of friendship and growth happens between total opposites Charlotte and Samantha in Season 3's Frenemies. Charlotte is concerned that her new husband Trey won't have sex with her, and Samantha is very, well, Samantha in her advice.
Why do you always have to talk about sex like that?
Because I can.
Okay, girls, simmer down. Mommy hasn't had her caffeine yet.
The pair fight until Charlotte storms off, and when Samantha realizes that Carrie and Miranda agree with Charlotte, she storms off as well. But over the course of the episode, the pair come to realize that they aren't as different as they might have imagined.
Damn it, I just really want to be, just really.
And have even learned some things from one another over the course of their friendship. Samantha is surprised to learn that she actually does have a tiny bit of a Charlotte side when a new friend is too overtly sexual, even for her. And Charlotte ends up following the Samantha-approved path to seduction and finds success at last.
She called the one person she knew who would appreciate it the most.
Hello?
Me.
Oh, honey, that's great. I knew you could do it.
Samantha Jones is notoriously up for anything.
I'm a trisexual. I'll try anything once.
This, of course, applies to her sex life, but also to the rest of her life, too. The friends live in the heart of New York City, but Samantha is the one that really makes the most of living in such a vibrant place. She makes sure that she and her friends are on every VIP list, at the opening of every new restaurant, and loves to meet and mingle with all of the interesting people the city has to offer. She's not afraid to try new things, whether it's a questionable new dish from a famous chef or an entirely new life experience. Her friends are significantly less flexible, but even just tagging along with Sam opens them up to whole new worlds. While the show as a whole had a pretty outdated view of sexuality, even for the time, that's aged even worse.
I'm not even sure bisexuality exists. I think it's just a layover on the way to Gay Town.
Samantha was ahead of the curve in many ways.
Soon everyone will be pansexual. It won't matter if you're gay or straight.
She had to come up against her friend's judgment yet again when she began dating Brazilian artist Maria.
Maria is an incredible woman. She's got passion and talent, intelligence, and
A vagina?
Oh, vagina schmagina.
And even though Maria doesn't end up being the one, being willing to be open to the relationship changes Samantha's life. Regardless of what her friends think, Samantha grows a lot from this relationship, even becoming kind of comfortable with the idea of monogamy, something she really never thought she'd be into. All of the things that make Samantha great stem from the fact that she's willing to put herself first. No man or woman or job or amount of judgment will force her to change who she is, or stop her from living the life she wants to live.
Faced with her own inadequacy, Samantha did something only Samantha could do. She threw an I don't have a baby shower to let everyone know she was fabulous.
She knows that not only is loving yourself and being confident in your choices a good thing, it's the only way to really build a happy life.
My legs are fantastic. I have killer abs. My ass is perfection.
One of her biggest lessons to her friends and us is that you shouldn't stay in situations that make you miserable. Sometimes you just have to let go of things that seem nice, but are holding you back from truly living your best life. She pushes her friends to drop relationships that aren't serving them anymore, but that they feel compelled to stay in, because she doesn't want her friends to get trapped by society's expectations and end up missing out on what they really want.
Sweetheart, you can't go listening to every little voice that runs through your head. It'll drive you nuts.
And she doesn't just talk the talk. While her relationship with Smith is for a long time very loving and fulfilling, after she moves across the country to be with him and help his career, she realizes that things have changed. She still loves him and cherishes their time together, but she knows that to be true to herself, she has to move on.
I'm just gonna say the thing you're not supposed to say. I love you, but I love me more.
She felt like she had begun to change herself to fit into a mold that she didn't belong in, just to try to keep the relationship working. And in the end, she realized that that wasn't the right choice for her.
I've been in a relationship with myself for 49 years, and that's the one I need to work on.
Putting yourself first can be difficult and even scary, requiring you to step out into an unknown that you might have to face all by yourself. But in the end, standing up for herself and not letting herself get trapped in someone else's story is worth it. Every character on Sex and the City is relatable and lovable in their own way, and their friendship is what made the show truly sparkle.
We made a deal ages ago. Men, babies, doesn't matter. We're soulmates.
But Samantha Jones continues to stand out for her attitude and outlook on life. And as time goes on, it becomes more and more clear that she had the right idea, most of the time. She, like Carrie, Miranda, and Charlotte, learned and grew a lot over the course of the show. But she never let go of the core of who she was, or let anyone force her to become something she's not. In the same way Samantha inspired her friends, she continues to inspire us to be our best selves and go after what we want, even if we might have to deal with a little judgment along the way. Samantha Jones was one of the best parts of Sex and the City, and with the surprising twist that she's making a brief appearance on it just like that, we all can't help but wonder, what if Samantha had been the star of the original show?
How many sexual partners have you had?
I'm counting. This year?
Samantha Jones is the group's most memorable character, who most embodies what the show was supposed to be about. She owns a PR firm, is always quick with a pun or double entendre, has a lot of sex, and, despite a culture that often judges her, truly feels no shame about that.
And I will not be judged by you or society. I will wear whatever and whomever I want as long as I can breathe and kneel.
Sex and the City actually centers around Carrie Bradshaw, a magazine columnist and remote working pioneer who can mysteriously afford endless Manolo Blahniks.
How much were they?
$485.
But while Carrie calls herself
The sexual anthropologist.
her views on dating are in fact pretty vanilla, so the show uses Samantha to provide almost all of its edginess and exploration.
For a sex columnist, you have a very limited view of sexuality.
Fast forward to the 2020s and just like that, and it's not just the passage of time, but even more so Samantha's absence that makes the revival a totally different show. One that appropriately had its title changed, because without Samantha, it's not about sex at all.
I should have gotten a baguette thing.
I should have ordered the soup.
But in an alternate universe where Samantha was the main character, Sex and the City could have been less about why emotionally unavailable men keep leaving us voicemails, and more about seeking emotional growth and self-actualization while being glamorous and managing relationships on your terms. Here's our take on why, thanks to her wit, endlessly interesting storylines, and genuine growth and change, Samantha as a heroine could have pushed Sex and the City, and just like that, to more provocative creative heights. In Sex and the City, Samantha is the one bringing the lion's share of the sex.
I'm a trisexual. I'll try anything once.
Samantha was so good at embracing experimentation in her time that to be called a Samantha was definitely the most provocative and brazen of the labels any fan could adopt. The show as a whole was known for pushing the envelope, even though it was mostly thanks to her. On the one hand, it's easy to see why Carrie seems like the more relatable and safer heroine for a show like this. In the time especially, more women were likely to see themselves as Carries, open to some adventure but ultimately looking for romance.
I am someone who is looking for love. Real love.
Because Samantha was pushing against what was considered mainstream in her era, many wrote her off for her promiscuity, saw her as less worthy of respect, or on some level feared what she represented.
Sex is something special that's supposed to happen between two people who love each other.
Or two people who love sex.
Samantha even had to contend with her best friend Carrie not fully respecting her choices.
You and I have very different ideas about what's sexy.
This is about the job, isn't it?
But ultimately, the creatives making this Carrie show meant that it only went so far beyond pretty conventional fare. Carrie writes about her cyclical and emotionally abusive relationships over and over. And a lot of Carrie's attitudes towards the then taboo topics on Sex and the City feel dated, while it's Samantha's plots that prefigure dating practices that now look mainstream. Samantha was correct in predicting the explosion of pansexuality in recent years.
Soon everyone will be pansexual. It won't matter if you're gay or straight.
Whereas her friends mock her for considering a threesome with gay men or dating a woman.
This is not about being gay or straight. Maria is an incredible woman. She's got passion and talent, intelligence, and...
A vagina?
Oh, vagina.
There's also dramatically a lot more going on in Samantha's life. While being a writer may sound glamorous, Samantha's high-powered PR agency is more comedically rife with interesting plot points. She's always on the VIP list of the hottest new clubs.
We're on the VIP list.
And creates smashing parties for New York's richest clientele. She's even a bit of a superhero. At her PR agency, there's nothing she can't do. She can turn a waiter into an absolute vodka billboard star, she can manage the PR for a top hotelier and date him, and she takes her friends to the most stunt-worthy clubs, from a place called Bed to a new restaurant serving only raw food. Before that was the norm in places like Los Angeles.
Now, what is raw food exactly?
Vegan, non-dairy, and nothing is cooked over 118 degrees.
So, in other words, raw vegetables.
And sometimes flowers.
In the actual show, a lot of this is taken for granted as background and not that fleshed out, sometimes played as cartoonish, one-dimensional storylines. But if you spent time digging in, there's a lot more to watch than Carrie pontificating in her apartment about the same guy. Soon after we first meet Carrie, she meets Mr. Big, the man who will alter her life and annoy all of her friends endlessly, just by bumping into him on the New York City sidewalk. She's excited to fall in love, while Samantha claims to just want to hook up with as many people as possible. Yet Samantha ends up in a much more meaningful relationship in the long run.
You flew all night? Why?
I forgot to tell you something on the phone. I love you.
So, how did that happen? Throughout the series, Carrie's Mr. Big is emotionally unavailable, always seeming to chase her down whenever it seems like she might be happy with another person. He gets married to someone else. And when it seems like Carrie has forgotten him for good and moved on with the carpenter Aiden, she goes right back and cheats on Aiden.
It's too hot. I can't do this.
What are you, saving it for your boyfriend?
Samantha, on the other hand, has 3 major relationships that challenge her in an important way. One is with Maria, an artist who actually gets Samantha to be monogamous.
Maria has taught me how to connect during sex. It's not just some animal act. It's about two people making love.
The second is with Richard, the aforementioned hotelier, whose inability to commit makes her realize that she wants a partnership with someone.
It's just sex. I love you.
Turns out she was right about right, but now she wished she was wrong.
There! Now your heart's broken too.
And the final with Smith, a waiter she rebrands into an incredibly successful actor who pushes her to be truly vulnerable as he helps her through her battle with breast cancer.
Your hair's your thing.
Chill out, I'm busy. And when I'm done Cuba here, I'm moving right over to you.
Still, in the movie, after moving across the country for Smith, Samantha decides that she doesn't like who she's had to become to keep the relationship going. But instead of it being a drama-filled breakdown like we might see from Carrie, Samantha just tells him the truth.
I love you, but I love me more.
This trajectory actually mirrors the relationships of many people today, who are more focused on appreciating a relationship for what it is and how it helps you grow, even if it doesn't last forever. Instead of keeping herself trapped in an unhappy relationship, Samantha moves on, which is a lot more inspiring than the win of finally ending up with the guy that made you miserable for years after he's seemingly run out of other options. Samantha's independence and laser-sharp focus on herself ensured that she wasn't just pining after men, and was more concerned with what she wanted.
The right guy is an illusion, you understand?
The core of Samantha's character is her confidence. She has so much of it, it can come across as unseemly. Her favorite word to describe herself is fabulous.
Fabulous, fabulous, fabulous.
She does a naked photo shoot just for herself and hangs the results on her wall. She genuinely doesn't care what other people think of her.
If I worried what every bitch in New York was saying about me, I'd never leave the house.
But Samantha's confidence is radical, especially for two key reasons. One, it doesn't depend on any expectation of validation through settling down.
Marriage doesn't guarantee a happy ending, just an ending.
And two, it doesn't diminish even as she ages decades beyond when women have traditionally been told to stop thinking of themselves as sexual beings.
It's time for ladies my age to cover it up.
Samantha keeps getting older, and she still has total faith that she's just getting sexier. And this may be the best reason of all to center her in this show, because why shouldn't any of us look to her as a role model for this, and feel the same no matter how old we get?
But I am 52 and I will rock this dress.
Carrie's narrative arc isn't really what the show set out to be. When her friends are dealing with pregnancy, infertility, new babies, and even cancer, all throughout, she is incredibly solipsistic. She unfailingly redirects the conversation back on herself and her love life. She's constantly making bad choices, like moving to Paris with artist boyfriend Alexander Petrovsky, leaving her job, friends, and apartment behind, only to feel offended when he has to go to work.
I had a job and friends, and I didn't give all of that up to come here and wander the streets of Paris alone.
And when that love fails, she falls back to who else but Mr. Big.
Carrie, you're the one.
Creator Darren Star criticized the series ending. He left the series by season 4, and in an interview stated that by having a perfect storybook conclusion, the show ultimately betrayed what it was about, which was that women don't ultimately find happiness from marriage. Not that they can't, but the show initially was going off script from the romantic comedies that had come before it. That's what had made women so attached. At the end of the series, Samantha, on the other hand, learns through each of her relationships what she truly wants, and stays true to herself in the process.
I've been in a relationship with myself for 49 years, and that's the one I need to work on.
She hasn't given up the parts of herself that we love, but by the end, she's more balanced. She even moves through breast cancer with style, donning new wigs and giving incredibly raw motivational speeches. She transforms from a horny caricature to a woman you root for, no matter who she is or isn't dating. Because ultimately, she stands for a tenacity, self-realization, and courage that's inspirational. Every Sex and the City character has their faults, and Samantha can be cold and unfeeling, hiding her real self behind an invulnerable shell. Of course, Carrie has her charms too. Sarah Jessica Parker's acting is magnetic, and having a character with weaknesses makes them more human. Yet, even Candice Bushnell tweeted that Samantha's are underrated. The first season of And Just Like That feels hollow because of the giant Samantha Jones-shaped shoes that not even the most charming new cast members can fill. Kim Cattrall, the actress who plays Samantha, was pitched to return to the role in a third Sex and the City movie, which didn't happen but became material for plotlines of And Just Like That.
We started letting Louisa spend the night because we like her, and now Brady's bedroom floor is a minefield.
Well, it's good he's using protection.
Now that is seeing the condom as half full.
In the pitch, Samantha was supposed to receive sexually suggestive photos from Miranda's then 14-year-old son, Brady. This bothered Cattrall so much that when she was asked about it, she gave her rep's idea of where Samantha might go instead. Why can't Samantha, who owns her PR company, maybe she had to sell it because of financial woes? 2008 was tough. That's a conflict. Instead of an underage boy's yikes. Cattrall, meanwhile, has been busy in her own new show, Glamorous, Hulu's How I Met Your Father, and she's fueled rumors that she could potentially team up with Darren Star for Emily in Paris. At the same time, about Samantha, she said, "It's a great wisdom to know when enough is enough. I also didn't want to compromise what the show was to me." So, even with her cameo in the upcoming season of And Just Like That being confirmed, it still seems that getting Samantha back for a full season is unlikely. But we can still hope. Yes, she was bawdy, impulsive, and shrewd, which caused her to butt heads with every member of the group.
Is your vagina in the New York City guidebooks? Because it should be. It's the hottest spot in town. It's always open.
But she pushed Carrie, Miranda, and Charlotte to be the most interesting versions of themselves. Without the show's id, we're just left with a lot of ego. Sex and the City's Samantha Jones and Charlotte York were set up to be complete opposites. Samantha, the free-loving, up-for-anything hottie, and Charlotte, the romantic, repressed Park Avenue princess.
I think it's wrong to sleep with a man just to fulfill a certain fantasy.
You fantasize a man with a Park Avenue apartment and a nice big stock portfolio. For me, it's a fireman with a nice big hose.
But when we take a deeper look at their stories, we actually start to see that, surprisingly, they're a lot alike. While they don't always see eye to eye on the right way to live one's life, they do share some important similarities in the ways they go about getting what they want, and in how they grow over the course of the show. The pair actually provide some really interesting insight into how, regardless of the boxes that society might try to put us in, we're not actually that different from people we think are nothing like us, and how having those people in our lives can actually help us form a more accepting, multifaceted view of ourselves. One reason Samantha and Charlotte often butt heads is because they both have very specific ideas about what they want out of life and how they think things should be. And those ideas exist at opposite ends of the stereotypical Madonna whore spectrum.
Sex is something special that's supposed to happen between two people who love each other.
Or two people who love sex.
But the fact that they know what they want and are actively going after it, instead of just waiting around for the universe to make something happen for them, is a trait that they share. They both have jobs that they're good at, and they have focus in their personal lives too. They're good friends, and they each work on honing their love lives to get the situation they desire. Samantha, unattached fun; Charlotte, very attached traditional monogamy. They don't necessarily end up staying on these paths, which we'll unpack in a second, but they do at least have very specific ideas about what they want out of relationships and their lives as a whole, and go after that.
I'm gonna meet the perfect guy, and I'm gonna get married.
Yes, you're getting married.
This can lead to them getting a little stuck in their ways. They both, at first, have some pretty set-in-stone ideas about how women should behave in relationships. Samantha, in her quest for power and freedom, thinks that holding on to traditional ideas about sex and relationships is a sure way to failure and sadness.
You can bang your head against the wall and try and find a relationship, or you can say screw it and just go out and have sex like a man.
Charlotte is on the other end, holding on to the idea that those traditional ideas are the only way to ever get the happily ever after she's she's always dreamed about.
I thought you were serious about this guy. You can't sleep with him on the first date.
Oh God, here she goes again with the rules.
They're both determined to not just sit around waiting for the life they want, but instead go out and make it happen for themselves.
Charlotte treated marriage like a sorority she was desperately hoping to pledge.
And they bring this drive to the rest of their lives too. This has allowed them to become successful in their fields and build lives where they're able to stand on their own 2 feet and weather any of the wild things that life might throw their way. While Charlotte and Samantha both start out quite sure of what they want out of life, that doesn't mean they always end up being right about what's actually best for them in the end. Their rules about life can cause them to stick with bad habits and relationships longer than they should. But another important quality they share is their willingness to change. Instead of just trudging along doing the same thing forever, after they realize they made the wrong choice, they make the decision to regroup, figure out what they do actually want now, and then go after that. They aren't afraid of growth or change, though that doesn't always mean it's easy. Charlotte tries her hardest to force the so-called perfect life she always dreamed of to come to fruition, to the point of essentially proposing to herself,
Maybe we should get married.
Alrighty.
sidelining her friends and career,
I'm quitting. That's what I want to do, yep. I'm quitting.
and going forward with the wedding even when she has a lot of reservations. Her determination and drive caused her to initially push past the reality that she didn't want to accept. But she doesn't just decide that what's done is done and now she's stuck. Once she really accepts that this life isn't working, she breaks free and moves on. Personal growth isn't some idealistic one-way street where you only ever improve. It can take learning the same lesson a couple of times for things to really stick. This happens for Charlotte when she does find a happy new relationship with someone she really loves, but then almost blows everything because that idea of how things are supposed to go is still stuck in the back of her mind.
Do you know how lucky you are to have me? Do you know how we look? Do you know what people out there think when they see us together, do you?
But, yet again, instead of getting stuck in this pattern forever, she realizes what she's doing and how it's negatively affecting her life and her ability to achieve her true goal, a happy, loving relationship, and decides to go for this new thing even if it requires a change of plans.
Harry's not who I expected to fall in love with, but I did. And he makes me laugh. And he says what he means, and I feel like I can be myself around him.
I don't care if you ever marry me. I just want to be with you.
Samantha, on the other hand, had specifically worked to avoid anything even close to monogamy because she didn't want someone tying her down or holding her back from what she wanted to do with her life.
F me badly once, shame on you. F me badly twice, shame on me.
But through the ups and downs of a few key relationships, she comes to find that she can in fact enjoy loving monogamous relationships. And even if they don't last forever, they're still important and enrich her life.
Maria is an incredible woman. She's got passion and talent, intelligence, and...
A vagina?
Oh, vagina schmagina.
Both Samantha and Charlotte realize that one of the most important things about rules is knowing when to bend or even break them. Samantha was notoriously up for anything, and learned that being in stable, longer-term relationships didn't mean having to give up that fun and exploration. And Charlotte, who was always framed as the most uptight one on the show, actually was up for trying out quite a lot after she had some time to warm up to it. And because they were both secure in who they were on a deeper level, they both also knew when to draw the line and move on. They both understood that the actual outcome and how it makes you feel is more important than holding on to some idea of how things could maybe one day be forever. That security in who they are comes from the fact that they love themselves and are confident in themselves.
I'm worth $1 million.
They know that they're not always perfect, but they know their worth and that they deserve to be happy.
I'm nice. I'm pretty, and I'm smart. I'm a catch.
They're not willing to let others boss them around or put them down, as can even be seen when they put each other down, and always have a comeback to stand up for themselves. But even though they might get the occasional snipe in at the other's expense, their shared confidence in themselves allows them to continue to stand up for themselves and each other.
What's going on?
She stole my baby name.
You bitch. Let's go.
Because their personalities aren't constantly clouded by self-doubt or self-hate, they're able to learn from their experiences and grow as the show progresses. And they're also able to cultivate supportive relationships with their friends instead of just using them as a crutch or a safety net. Both Charlotte and Samantha are hit with a number of obstacles over the course of the show. Divorce, heartbreak, infertility, cancer, life just generally not working out the way they had imagined. But they always manage to find a way to pull themselves back up whenever they get knocked down. They each actually find more of an equilibrium between the two sides of the spectrum that once separated them, and find that they're much happier there. Samantha opens herself up to the love of others, and Charlotte finds a deeper love for herself.
I'm not interested.
Well, you better get interested, or you're gonna end up all alone and with no mans.
Well, maybe I am. And would that be the worst thing that could happen?
But most importantly, they never stop believing that they'll be able to create the life they want for themselves, no matter how far they might get thrown off course. A big part of both Charlotte and Samantha's eventual growth and success is born out of the fact that they both refuse to settle for less than what they think they deserve.
But it can happen. People do live happily ever after.
They fight hard to get what they want, but if they realize that in the end it isn't what serves them, they're willing to let it go and keep trying until they do come upon the things that will bring them love and joy. Getting stuck in the idea that the thing you used to want is the only thing you'll ever want can be a recipe for disaster that causes you to settle for less just because on some level it makes you feel like you've won. But the real win comes from being able to recalibrate, accept you were wrong, and then chart a new course towards something better.
I've been in a relationship with myself for 49 years, and that's the one I need to work on.
That night, Charlotte realized the memories she was giving up might be nothing compared to the memories she was getting.
Samantha and Charlotte's trajectories over the course of the show also make clear how ridiculous and unfair the whole Madonna whore dichotomy truly is. The trope forces women to see themselves as two-dimensional caricatures instead of fully realized people, and this can lead them to making themselves miserable trying to live up to the impossible ideals of either box. At the end of the day, there's no need to settle for getting trapped in one end or the other, because we all contain a spectrum of interests and desires. And both Charlotte and Samantha come to understand that over the show's run. They start to see that, as much as they might fight and disagree,
Is your vagina in the New York City guidebooks? Because it should be. It's the hottest spot in town. It's always open.
they're not actually that different after all.
Damn it, I just really want to be, just really.
Claire Ann, I'm going.
They're both strong-willed, confident women who love themselves and refuse to settle for anyone or anything that doesn't bring them the happiness and fun that they know they deserve. Charlotte and Samantha are proof that you don't have to agree on everything to have a loving friendship, and that having friends that challenge your worldview and your conception of yourself a bit can actually be a good thing and lead to growth for both of you.
This is me. I'm not a Madonna, and I'm not a whore.
It can often feel like society is pulling us in two directions, still trying to force us to choose either the Madonna or the whore path. But Samantha and Charlotte show us that actually the key to happiness is not letting yourself get trapped in either box, and instead focusing on building a life that works for you. Even though they are quite different, the similarities they share are important and are what allow them to grow and change and become even better, happier people.
We made a deal ages ago. Men, babies, doesn't matter. We're soulmates.
Samantha Jones literally put the sex in Sex and the City and brought a special, irreplaceable spark to the show.
Hello, my name is Fabulous.
So when it came time to create the reboot, and just like that, and Samantha actress Kim Cattrall turned the role down, the showrunners knew they had a problem. They'd have to find some way to fill that Samantha-shaped hole if there was any chance of the show being a success. And over the reboot's 2 seasons, there have been a few contenders trying to provide the sensuality, confidence, and fabulousness that the show was missing without Sam. So here are the characters that come the closest to filling her stilettos, and the one that might actually have a chance at bringing the sparkle back to the show, even if no one can ever truly replace Samantha Jones.
I'm a lovely person. At least get to know me, then hate me.
In Sex and the City, each friend represented a different type of modern woman. Carrie was romantic and idealistic, Charlotte was conservative and traditional, Miranda was practical and cynical, and Samantha was self-assured and sexually adventurous. Unapologetic about who she was and always willing to challenge the norms of monogamy and heteronormativity that women are expected to adhere to. Samantha was open to experimentation and exploring carnal pleasures, and as a result was the character that the other women would turn to for non-judgmental advice.
Don't you want to judge me just a little bit?
Not my style.
Samantha brought the show's sexuality and many of its laughs, but we also got to see her hidden depths. She had some of the show's highest highs, but also got dealt some of its most difficult hands. From her unresolved issues around death and grief, to her aversion to commitment, to her battle with cancer in the final season. And it was this depth of feeling and fullness of character that made her such an iconic and deeply loved character. Kim Cattrall had already had issues with the way that the writers had begun changing Samantha for the worst in the movies, so it wasn't that much of a shock when she declined to return for the reboot.
She's no longer with us. No, she didn't die.
She's in London.
But fans were still terribly disappointed and also worried about what it would mean for the show. Everyone wondered how the show could possibly work without Samantha, and truth be told, it didn't really. The showrunners clearly learned this lesson in the first season and have been making a more concerted effort to have other characters fill the Samantha void in the second season. One option wasn't a new addition at all. Anthony Maritino, who has been around since Sex and the City's third season. Anthony has always shared some traits with Samantha. Both are brash and openly sexual and unafraid to give their friends a kick in the pants.
If you don't put something in there soon, it'll grow over.
In And Just Like That, Anthony is occasionally used to bring the frank sex talk that Samantha did, once even taking the coveted fourth brunch spot.
Last week, I was down on my knees this cute nurse practitioner.
In the 10th episode of Season 2, his sexual dilemma actually harkens back to one Charlotte encountered in Season 1 of Sex and the City.
Look, I've never done it. I've never been because I'm not the woman, okay?
If he goes up there, there's going to be a shift in power. Either he'll have the upper hand or you will.
A problem that Samantha had a very, Samantha answer to.
Front, back, who cares? A hole is a hole.
Lisa Todd Wexley has also helped to fill out the friend group in Samantha's absence and has become a fan favorite in her own right. While she's gotten some fun storylines of her own and occasionally brings some Samantha-esque fashion and attitude, her mom refinding her sense of self outside of motherhood arc and general demeanor is much more Charlotte, so it makes sense that they became quick friends. Shay has also in some ways been positioned to take on some of the Samantha spotlight. They're similarly sexually adventurous and always unafraid to speak their mind.
Cheer if I f***ed you. Cheer if you want me to f*** you.
But unlike Samantha, Shay wasn't initially loved as a character, mostly due to them never really getting to feel like a fully formed character for the first season of the show. They often felt like a walking stereotype and a megaphone for the writers to berate the audience with instead of like a real person we were supposed to relate with and enjoy. But in the second season, thankfully, they've finally been given the chance to blossom into their own character, separate from their romance with Miranda, and really begin exploring their story fully. Their growing friendship with Carrie has also been wonderful to watch, as Carrie needs friends who are self-assured and outspoken and not huge prudes.
For a sex columnist, you have a very limited view of sexuality.
While Anthony, Lisa Todd Wexley, and Shay are great characters in their own ways, and certainly bring some Samantha-esque traits to the show, there is one person who the show has clearly started positioning as the Samantha replacement. Seema Patel is a glamorous, confident, cutthroat businesswoman who's in charge of her sexuality, doesn't take disrespect from anyone, and isn't afraid to show off. Sound familiar?
Yeah, I am harsh. I'm also demanding, stubborn, self-sufficient, and always right.
She's self-assured, always willing to speak her mind without sugarcoating her feelings, and has an active sex life. Seema's a high-powered NYC real estate broker, and like Samantha, she's always at the most important events with the city's hottest people.
We're on the VIP list.
Sometimes her level of extreme wealth and power can make her feel unrelatable.
Someone just stole my Birkin.
No, where? Right in front of my goddamn townhouse.
But her unabashed pride in her success is always enjoyable to watch, and like Samantha, she remains likable in spite of her flaws. Seema too has hidden depths that we're getting to explore more now that she's finally getting more screen time. Seema is indeed the most true to the original ethos of the show. She's a grown woman living the single life well past the age people expect that you should be settled down by. This was the central conceit of Sex and the City. The friends weren't young adults experiencing adulthood for the first time. They were all grown women finding their way in the world and looking for love.
For me, the show is really about the fact that women don't need to be defined by men or by marriage.
Samantha in particular was special because she was the oldest of the group and the most unashamed of her singledom. She was happy being sexually free and fabulous. Seema is the only character that really has this vibe on And Just Like That, while the others are all married or in situationships or dealing with the death of their partners. Seema is enjoying dating and sleeping around.
A 5-star hotel bar. Super expensive room, so you know he has coin, and deadbeats aren't allowed to wander in off the street.
When she first meets Carrie, she comes off as completely carefree, perfectly content with her single life. But as we get to know her, we start to understand that she actually does crave a deeper connection with another person, but isn't willing to settle for less than what she knows she deserves, and so is afraid that it may never happen for her.
From everything I've heard, it sounds to me that you've had these 2 great loves, and I've had none.
Knowing her worth and what she really wants out of life and refusing to accept any less is very Samantha.
I love you, but I love me more.
And much like Samantha, we see how beneath her glowing confidence, Seema also has some deeper issues that she must work through to find happiness. Seema's friendship with Carrie is also similar to Carrie and Samantha's in many ways. Seema becomes Carrie's confidant, the person with whom she feels most open, sharing all parts of her life without fear of judgment. The pair have a lot of fun together, and Seema is there to comfort Carrie when she needs it. She, like Samantha, also reminds Carrie that she doesn't always have to take life so seriously. Seema is also firm with Carrie when she's hurt her feelings and holds her accountable for her, at times, self-centered behavior.
Good for you, Seema, trying to find yourself a man to marry after all those years of no luck.
No, that's not the way I meant it.
No, I'm sure, but that's how I heard it.
Samantha often found herself in this position on Sex and the City, having to remind Carrie that the world doesn't actually revolve around her.
I will not be judged by you or society.
While Carrie's self-centeredness can often make her feel relatable in some ways, because we all have moments where we lose focus on the bigger picture, it's important that she has a friend around that can bring her back to reality. The 2 friendships' similarities also means that they run into many of the same conflicts. One particular parallel is Carrie's relationship with Aiden in both series. When Aiden wanted to propose in Sex and the City, it caused a slight rift between Samantha and Carrie, as Samantha felt abandoned by her best friend choosing to get married. However, Samantha eventually came around and even helped Aiden pick out the ring he was going to get for Carrie, because above all, she wanted her friend to be happy. And in Just Like That, with Aiden and Carrie reuniting yet again, Seema similarly feels threatened by the fact that Carrie is no longer single.
I can't do it. I can't be a third wheel, and that's not the summer I signed up for.
But like Samantha, Seema eventually comes around and chooses to support Carrie in her relationship if it's what will truly make her happy. Seema has also begun to fit into the group dynamic with the other women in a Samantha-like way, bringing a similar energy to their classic brunch tableau scenes.
Sex is something special that's supposed to happen between 2 people who love each other.
Or 2 people who love sex.
And Just Like That's brunch scenes can at times feel a bit stilted or awkward, but Seema brings a breath of fresh air into the conversations, much like Samantha. She always has a quip reflecting her sex-positive beliefs or an anecdote about one of her wild sexual or dating adventures. She's definitely helping to bring some much-needed fun and sex back into the franchise. There is one major difference between Seema and Samantha. While Samantha was almost ideological about being single, Seema isn't single by choice, or at least not totally. Samantha was always very clear about not wanting to be tied down, and even when she does fall in love and get married, she eventually has to end things because she knows that what she really wants is freedom.
The right guy is an illusion, you understand that?
Seema, on the other hand, does want to find that special somebody and settle down. She just hasn't found the right person. But because she, like Samantha, puts herself first, she isn't willing to just get hitched to whoever just so that she doesn't have to be alone.
Please don't say I will, because I might not. And I can live with that.
She is perfectly fine with engaging in more casual relationships and even investing in her relationships before she finds that person. But at the end of the day, she does want to find the one. While this is different from Samantha, it does represent another important path that many women find themselves on. Not necessarily actively seeking singledom, but choosing it over being stuck with the wrong person or having to give up parts of themselves and their lifestyle that makes them happy. So while Seema's trajectory will likely be different than Samantha's when it comes to love, she'll still be representing an important demographic, and she'll continue to uphold Samantha's important ethos of never letting herself be defined by a man and never giving in to the pressure to accept less than what she deserves out of life.
I've been in a relationship with myself for 49 years, and that's the one I need to work on.
No one will ever be able to replace the effervescent, unfailingly fabulous Samantha Jones.
Hello, 911? I'm on fire.
And just like that, absolutely falls flat without her charm and vivaciousness, so it's important that the writers are at least trying to breathe life into the reboot by giving some of Samantha's most important traits to new characters. Seema is wonderful in her own right, so hopefully now the show will start expanding her character and giving her the attention and story arcs she deserves, not so that she can replace Samantha, but so that she can continue to become her own fully fleshed out, fabulous person and not feel like she's stuck in someone else's shadow. Samantha is set to finally make an appearance in the final episode of And Just Like That's second season, though only for a single scene, and so there's a little bit of hope that she might feature more in season 3 and we'll get something really amazing. To see a friendship blossom between Samantha and Seema. But even if we don't end up getting more Samantha Jones on our screens, we are excited to see Seema's funny, confident, and sexy story continue to unfold. That's The Take. Click here to watch a video we think you'll love, or here to check out a whole playlist of awesome content. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications.